your top. Well, hot off the heels of what has been a very, very busy couple of weeks here with our open homes in both the rentals and the sales team. Look, there are a lot of questions, as you can imagine, that we are asked. However, are you asking the right questions? Join us in a second and find out. Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to our Monday evening Novak news segment. I'm ZANTHANY, and I'm joined by
SIENNA,
the lovely SIENNA, as part of our rentals team. She's one of the superstars in, is it the pink team?
It sure is, working alongside Cleo and Leonardo.
And so, SIENNA, as part of the rentals team, just on average, how many people would you see go through your open homes every Wednesday and Saturday?
Definitely on Wednesday we get a less amount of people since a lot of people are working, but on Saturday we get mostly an average around 7 to 8 groups that come through the properties, rental properties.
And similarly, especially over the last few weeks, we have seen an absolute boom in the numbers coming through open homes for our residential and commercial sales properties. So collectively, SIENNA and I both thought that tonight would be an absolutely amazing opportunity to go through the questions that are currently asked, on top of the questions that you maybe perhaps should be asking either your property managers or real estate agents.
Definitely. And before we start, excuse my shirt, guys. I did wear a green shirt. Big mistake trying to cover it up with my blazer, but
it's just the spirit of SIENNA coming out to inform us all of these amazing Novak news topics.
Xanthi made a joke about how I was a little ghost waiting for everyone to answer the questions.
So, Ghost of SIENNA, what are some of the most frequently asked questions that you currently get as part of the rentals team?
Yeah, definitely. Since it's hitting into summer, a lot of people are definitely wanting an air-conned rental property, especially with the prices going very hot in the market at the moment. I get asked, is there aircon? But I also want to switch it around, asking tenants, prospective tenants, to also ask, when has the last been serviced? Is the filters clean? I think that's a really important question to ask when going into the open inspection.
And so, SIENNA, do most of the properties around here actually have aircon? Because I imagine you're doing primarily apartments here in DY. Do they have aircon?
Yeah, look, we have the Meriton buildings that are always airconned. It's and also we do have other apartment blocks that are quite old built and mostly do have fans. But a lot of rental properties that I've been through for the last month mostly have aircon.
And so I imagine, or in fact, I actually do know this already, the rental market is hot at the moment. It is very fast moving.
Definitely.
Places don't stay vacant for very long.
Yeah.
And as part of the frequently asked questions, SIENNA, what are some of the others that you do encounter on the day-to-day?
Yeah, look, when we do an open inspection, as a leasing consultant, we do need to stay on the premises at all times while the inspection is conducting. And so a lot of prospectors come in saying, oh, can we go and see the lockup garage? Can we go and see the secure car space? Unfortunately, there's only one of us and we have to stay in the premises. So maybe asking for measurements of the car space or the lockup garage, we can provide you after that open inspection, or maybe even waiting around a few minutes while everyone clears out, and we can take you down on our way out to another open inspection.
Yeah, absolutely, SIENNA. And look, let's just put it out there right now.
Yeah.
There are no wrong questions. There are no bad questions. You do need to inform yourself and arm yourself with as much knowledge moving into a rental or a brand new property purchase. So as much as we're saying you're asking the wrong questions, this also is a segment, like I touched on before, about opening your mind and thinking about other questions that we don't necessarily get asked day to day.
Definitely. And also, it's also based on your knowledge as well about if this is your first rental property that you are renting, you want to be equipped with all the questions you can so you ensure that the tenancy goes smoothly. And also, we do get asked a lot in regards to the rent. the bond and the holding deposit, it's really, really important to ask the person who is conducting the open inspection, how much is the holding deposit? How much do I need to put down for the bond? Having those funds with you when you get approved for the property is really important as well, and asking those questions.
What about, Sienna, a question along the lines of, was the property previously tenanted or owner occupied? And if so, why is that person moving out? Were they a long-term tenant? Was it a long-term owner occupier? Why are they moving? What about questions of that kind of nature?
Yeah, well, I think that also expands on the condition of the property as well. If we had a long-term tenant in there, we do get a lot of questions, why are they leaving? And a lot of tenants, a lot of those previous tenants are moving due to family, due to work. And honestly, a lot of previous tenants that I have met personally get very sad that they're leaving the property, because most of them absolutely love it and treat it as their own home. If it's owner occupied, you can definitely ensure that the property will be in good condition, since that is the owner's property.
Absolutely, yeah. And expanding on that even further, it might not be a bad idea to even ask questions along the lines of, if it is an apartment in a big building, what's the majority of owner-occupied versus tenanted as well?
Definitely. And if you have good neighbours, I think that's a really important question to ask. Has there been noise complaints? Has there been, notices of termination? Is always a question to ask. Most of our agents, we personally wouldn't know that off the spot, but we can let you know in the future as well.
Absolutely. And fire away all of your questions. I am honestly a renter myself, and these are a lot of the questions that I have asked my property manager that I currently have, who, don't judge me for this, is not actually with Novak. But yeah, and then asking if the landlord will be willing to negotiate the leasing term. Could I have a lease for longer than the 12-month period? I've been there for 2 years already, and I absolutely love living in my current apartment. I don't see myself moving anytime soon. I mean, I live in Queenscliff at the moment, work in DY. It's just a match made in heaven. So asking questions along the lines of, would the landlord be willing to negotiate a longer lease term?
Yep.
Anything like that as well. Do you get asked those questions, Sienna?
Yeah, look, we also get questions, how to make our application look better. Providing supporting documentation is really important to make your application to stand out. And there's also a little bit on the application of a description of yourself. And a lot of people go, I love walking the beach, I love doing this and that. That's not exactly what we're looking for. We're looking for why you're leaving your previous current address, why you're moving, what's in the near future for you is also great to put on your applications as well. And I also want to mention, it's also great to ask if there's any common issues within the building. So is there any major works being done that Strata has planned throughout your tenancy? It's really good to bring up with the agent at the open inspection, so you can ensure that if there is major works happening, you're aware of it and it doesn't just pop up.
Oh, absolutely. You don't want to just have moved in 4 weeks later, all of a sudden you've got scaffolding out your window, you've got hammers and drills and everything starting at 7 o'clock in the morning, especially on a Saturday. You've had a few wines on Friday night. You just want to have a really lazy Saturday morning in, and then bam. Yeah. Let the drilling begin. So definitely ask those questions. That's a really good one, Sienna.
Yeah, and also I also want to mention as well measurements. If you are potentially going to move into that rental property, obviously there is no guarantee, but also asking your agent, can you measure the fridge for me? Because we do have an app on our phone that shows that you can measure it from point 1 to point 2, and it gives the measurements without actually getting a measurement tape.
I'm so sorry, Sienna, your see-through top.
It's so bad. We're trying to ignore it, guys.
I just can't. I'm so sorry. I can feel myself getting a bit embarrassed laughing on film.
Don't make me feel more embarrassed.
I'm sorry.
Okay. Moving on.
Were there any other questions that you can think of that people should be asking you, Sienna, while we're focusing on the rental side? And in a moment, I might pivot away and move into more of the sales team side that I'm a little bit more familiar with. But before we do, are there any other questions you think?
Yeah, sure. We also get a lot of questions in regards to the NBN, if there is an NBN at the property. And, a lot of tenants will want internet because since COVID has happened, a lot of people are actually working from home.
Yeah, very
So a lot of tenants are looking for that NBN and that NBN box, so they don't have to go out of the way and buy one.
Absolutely. And I mean, it's not too dissimilar with the sales team as well. A lot of people that do come through also ask about the NBN and internet connection. It's absolutely such a critical question to ask, especially if you have the ability to work from home. And I moved into my place and it didn't have NBN, and I was happy to arrange it myself, which is totally fine as well. But look, it's still good information to arm yourself with, especially moving into a new property.
Definitely, it can be a stressful time, and having one thing off your shoulder, it makes it 10 times better. And that could be having an NBN box.
And also you can Netflix and chill all night.
On that Sunday morning after a couple of wines.
Yeah.
And look, I've had a situation before where I've been approached by a tenant in regards to what are the strata rules in regards to pets, because you get some prospective tenants that are allergic to dogs and cats, and if strata accepts pets allowed into that property, and obviously dogs and the cats, they walk around the common areas, a lot of prospective tenants could get sick, and they don't want to move into a property where you have dogs and cats.
Yeah, I completely tuned out because I was so focused on the comment from Natalie Patterson there, dynamic duo, dynamic 1, dynamic 2 together.
Blonde and brunette.
Yeah. Thanks, Natalie. It's nice that you're joining us again.
I know.
But yes, definitely pets. Similarly, especially in the sales team,
Yeah.
with apartments, we get asked that question all the time. Is it a pet-friendly complex?
Yeah.
So definitely a good one to ask your property managers, your sales agents, anything like that.
Yeah, shall we move on to you?
Yes, but before we do, if you are just tuning in, we are talking about the questions that you should be asking or might think about asking your real estate agents, whether that's in property management or as part of the sales team.
Now we're going to move on to Xanthi.
Yes.
So what I wanted to know, obviously, I'm not very experienced when it comes to sales of property.
Yes.
However, I did want to ask you, when you present a property, is the presentation of that property really matter? Do you get a lot of buyers who come in and get a little bit spooked if the presentation isn't that well?
Oh, look, absolutely. A lot of buyers, it's all dependent on their frame of mind and what they're willing to put into the property. Some people would prefer a property that you can literally just move straight into and not spend a cent.
Yeah.
However, alternately, you might want to move into a property for a slightly cheaper price, but then have the ability to really make it your own, do some renovations or some internal and external works to really shape it to something even better. So presentation is important, and it's all very dependent on the buyer and their frame of mind and how much they're willing in terms of time, effort, and energy to put into maintaining that property or turning it around, flipping it to make it something even greater.
Yeah, and do you get often those questions, which would be the best bedroom would the kitchen be the best place to renovate? Is that a question that you get asked a lot when buyers come through the property?
Absolutely. However, the questions are more focused on the living room, lounge room, and more the layout of the actual home.
Yeah.
Some people would prefer more of a conventional layout, so a standard flowing kitchen, moving to the bedrooms and separated bathroom, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
If it's a bit of an odd floor plan, that's where some of the questions or a lot of the questions will come in. What could I use this room for? And at the end of the day, it just takes a little bit of creativity, imagination, and hard work, and you might have a really solid foundation, and you can just do anything internally to really make it shine.
Now, what are the most common questions that you get asked at an open inspection?
All the time, why is the vendor selling? That gets asked every single time, and yes, I'm not saying any of these questions are bad. We're just expanding on them to arm you with some other questions that you can be asking. So I'd say the top 3 questions are, why is the vendor selling? Have there been any offers yet? And how long has it been on the market?
Okay.
Yeah, so very standard questions. And yes, again, definitely ask them. We're not saying any question is wrong. And like we touched on earlier, the market at the moment is really starting to take a boom. It was a very slow spring selling season, and we're shifting into a very heavy buyer's market. It's a great time to pick up a property for an absolutely outstanding price. And with that, there's just been an absolute boom in numbers to every single open home. So some of the other questions overall for units and for apartments, you might want to consider, like Sienna said before, are there any problems with the building?
Yep.
You don't want to be struck with an absolutely huge levy that you didn't know about beforehand, or again with the construction work. So asking, are there any problems with the buildings? Are there any special levies that you have to be aware of? How much is in the capital gains fund or the admin fund? Knowing about all of those strata costs, is it an ongoing cost or just a short-term cost? Knowing these things can really impact, this material fact can impact your decision to put down a deposit and potentially buy that property.
Yeah, wow, a lot of information there.
Oh, sorry. Verbal diarrhea.
That was great. That's great. But I think you said it all. I don't think I have any further questions.
Look, also you do want to know if it is pet friendly, and like I touched on before, how much is in the sinking fund, the capital gains fund, what are the outings on top of strata, what about the water rates and the council rates? These are also costs that will be ongoing that you will need to pay every single quarter. So having that information before you buy something, definitely a good idea.
Awesome.
And then with houses as well, always see if there's a pest and building inspection report available. It would just be terrible moving into a home that you thought was something absolutely fantastic, only to find out the timber floors are completely rotting away in parts, and you could potentially fall through, or there's termites in the building as well. Something that we definitely want to avoid.
Now I gotta ask, is that a material fact that you have to disclose with the client if they do decide to put down a holding deposit for that property?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would
so
be a material
mostly
fact.
a lot of our agents would give over that documentation or disclose it before any deals are made.
Yes, but the pest and building inspection report will provide even further detail to go into just how bad it is, and in terms of the whole entire building. There might be things that I could see, but a pest and building inspector could take even further and see even more that I wouldn't see. I'm not a trained professional in terms of building and construction. So that's for houses. And look, if a property is going to auction, ask your real estate agent, would the vendor be willing to accept an offer prior to auction? Anything on sale, ask, if you love it, ask the real estate agent right then and right there, what would be the buy figure today?
Yeah.
If you're cashed out, you're good to go, you love it, put it out there, right here, right now, I'm ready to buy. What will it take? What is the price that the vendor would accept where I can just walk away right now and take this property with me?
Well,
yeah, put yourself out there. It's about having a little bit of fun as well. Buying a property, renting a property, it's a massive journey. It's an experience. You go through this whether you're alone or with a partner, but we're here together with you. And it's just, we love the ride. It's busy. It's day to day. It's 24/7.
it keeps you on your toes, that's for sure. Well, it's got to, hasn't it?
So should we do a bit of a recap, Sienna?
Yeah, sure, why not? So as I said, I'm in property management and Xanthi's in sales. We just went through some questions that prospective tenants could ask us, and this could include the utilities. This also can include the secure car space, lock-up garage, also if there's pets, and also strata rules as well.
Absolutely. And look, if you're going to take something away from today in terms of a sale, ask your real estate agent as many questions as you can. Include things like ask for a suburb report, ask about what's happening in the suburb you're buying, any comparable sales to really arm you with more information. What's the potential rental return? I mean, I'm just rattling off a whole bunch of additional questions that we haven't had time to cover.
Yeah.
So quickly, ingest them all now.
Spit it out.
Yeah, look, and no question is a bad question. We're here to help you and hold your hand as much as we can. And we love the ride, and we'll go on it with you.
Definitely. And we'll have a glass of wine afterwards.
Yeah. Well, thank you for joining us, everyone. Thank you, Sienna.
Thank you, Zan.
How did we go?
We went well, I believe. I was pretty excited about this topic as well because, you know, we kind of combined sales and property management in both. And
Yeah, girls on film. We'll do it again soon, guys. Thank you for joining us and have a great night. I can't figure it out.